Damian G here again with another review for the channel, and I had the privilege of being able to watch all 7 episodes of Creature Commandos, the new DC animated show that's scheduled to release on Max, at least the first 2 episodes, on December 5th, with episodes being released weekly thereafter until January. From the mind of James Gunn, and I gotta say off the top, this was a fun show to watch. I'm not going to give spoilers. If there is a want, I will do weeklies of each episode if there is a want to do so. But as of right now, I'm just going to do an over-encompassing non-spoiler review of Creature Commandos. And I'll say this off rip. The voice cast. A lot of people are making a big deal of the voice cast, and these are quite the names here. Steve Agee, Frank Grillo, Sean Gunn, David Arbor, Alan Tudyk, Viola Davis, to name a few. A lot of people are telling me, just based on the voice acting cast, that this is going to be a top-notch show. But what if I told you the voice acting wasn't the best part of the show? What if I told you the portrayals of these characters weren't the end-all be-all, and it's just dressing on the salad? What do I mean by that? So I'm going to go straight to the animation. I loved it. It gave me a hint of Venture Brothers, or at the very least, it reminded me of my time watching the Venture Brothers when I was younger. And that's the kind of, I want to say that's the kind of animation I appreciate. I think that's the easiest way for me to say that. It just gave me back nostalgia. And if you know me well enough and you know some of the other stuff I do on the channel and beyond, I love nostalgic cartoons, and watching the animation of Creature Commandos just hit me right in that sweet spot. You know, it just was just fun. It gave me cartoon flashbacks. It gave me remembrances, and you know, the tickling of nostalgia is always fun. So I give that a big thumbs up. And I'm not going to belabor a lot of the points here. I'm going to try to be brief. The story itself, as it played out, you get background on characters, how they got there, how they wound up where they were. And it seems almost paint by numbers at first, right? So I don't want to say this is like the Suicide Squad, even though it's hinted at it, saying it's Task Force M. So I get it. It's Task Force X with monsters. That's great and all. But it was a little formulaic, and it reminded me at first of all these superhero cartoons and shows that do I need to highlight the individuals first before I bring them together as a team. And that was a tad bit formulaic, at least in my opinion. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm saying it was paint by numbers. And then as I got probably into episode 3 and 4, I'm sorry, what? We took a turn. Okay. There were multiple twists and turns this season, but I want to say probably around episode 3, it took a turn for me that I was not expecting. The characters themselves, endearing is the word I'm going to use, even though, as I said, the vocal performances of these A-list actors and actresses were passing. It was passing. It wasn't meant to be anything other than what it was. And I think a lot of us who love animation, especially in my age bracket, we missed the days of Justice League Unlimited and the original DC EU, Batman Beyond, the animated series, I should say. Those are the things we remember, right, from the DC animated universe. But this is a new twist thanks to James Gunn. The voice actors don't overstay their welcome, even though they're big names, if that makes sense. The voice cast was good. I'm not going to say it was bad. I'm not going to say it was lackluster, but no one's overall performance was earth-shattering or anything of that nature. But given the subject matter, it fit and conveyed the characters pretty well. My personal favorite is G.I. Robot. That was my personal favorite character, just because it's a robot that's a warrior or a GI. And as someone who liked G.I. Joe as a kid, G.I. Robot, one of my favorite characters in the show. Rick Flag Sr., who is voiced excuse me, who is voiced by Frank Grillo. And if you know Frank Grillo, he's used to playing the tough, gruff. I mean, he was Crossbones, for Christ's sake, in the MCU, right? His take on Rick Flag Sr. was interesting for me because it was weathered, it was tired, it was a senior, let's say someone in my age bracket or above, was a little tired of serving their country, just tired of bloodshed, just tired. When you get to a certain age, man, you're tired. And I'd like to think Frank's portrayal just lent a little bit more of that real life charm to him, only because you're expecting Rick Flag to be the Rick Flag we got in Suicide Squad, played by Joel Kinnaman. Obviously, this is in that same universe, so if you've seen James Gunn, The Suicide Squad, you know that his version of Rick Flag Jr. Was killed by Peacemaker. So this is Rick Flag Sr., so that might confuse some people. But yes, I'm just going to say that Rick Flag Sr. is a general, right? The leader of the Creature Commandos. And it's just, I want to say he's an everyman that's seen some stuff. I think that's the easiest way to say it. Also, Sean Gunn. Thank you, Sean Gunn, for playing eclectic characters. G.I. Robot. He also played Weasel, reprising his role from the original Suicide Squad, or James Gunn's The Suicide Squad movie. And that's brought up in the show about that mission to Porto Maltese, Operation Starfish, or Corto Maltese. So a lot of little nods and winks to the Suicide Squad film, excuse me. And I just like that they're kind of piecemealing everything and just giving you little bits and pieces of reminding, oh yeah, this takes place in that same universe. So things that surprised me in terms of I didn't overly like. Now, I love David Arbor. I love him as Red Guardian. I loved him, I believe, as Kris Kringle in that one Violent Santa, Silent Night, I believe it was called. I never watched Stranger Things, so I can't compare his performance to that. But David Arbor, and this isn't a spoiler, he plays Eric Frankenstein. That wasn't it for me. And I don't know if I blame him or I blame the writing of the character. Tortured, sure, as Frankenstein's monster tends to be, complicated relationship with his creator. We also have the Bride of Frankenstein in this show. But his performance was a little disappointing. And maybe I just have high expectations for anything David Arbor's in. But then again, he plays quirky really well. I just didn't think it fit the character. That's just me. I don't think it fit the character. It just doesn't work for me. But it may work for you. I'm just talking how I saw this. The pacing the whole season, as I said, was formulaic in the beginning and then turns on its head. And then we got a case of mystery, whodunit, stuff like that. And I enjoyed that. If there's one thing I've realized lately, is I don't want to say thrillers. I like being able to think while I'm watching a show. Thinking about the next steps, thinking about what may come. What's the plan here? What's the big picture? The micro and the macro, the minutia. And I kind of like shows like that. And this show was good for that, to make me think about, okay, what's the next thing going to be? What's the next turn of phrase? What's the next turnabout? Also, Alan Tudyk. I don't know. Sorry, Alan Tudyk. I'm a little tired, folks. I'm so sorry. Alan Tudyk, great voice actor, overall great actor, but him playing Dr. Phosphorus, who reminds me of Blight from Batman Beyond, Eric Powers. I just wasn't feeling it. And that's what I mean by a lot of the performances were not over the top. They weren't revolutionary, but they weren't paint by numbers. So they did what they could with the script. And I believe the writing, and James Gunn, please don't kill me. But the way some of these characters are eventually fleshed out and their trials and tribulations, it missed for me. Okay. Now, let me get to something I know is going to be a big miss for some people. A big miss. It wasn't for me, but I got where it was going after a while. Okay. The Bride. the character of the Bride of Frankenstein, portrayed by Indira Varma. Her performance is great for the character. If you don't like strong female characters, you aren't gonna like her. So for that group of people on the internet that don't like to see women starring female characters in a kick-ass role that's not named Lara Croft, they're not gonna like this. Okay? They're gonna say all the buzzwords, woke and pandering and all this other good stuff, right? You're gonna hear this from a certain sector of the universe and the internet. I didn't mind the performance, but I got what they were trying to do with her. Her backstory, tortured, as is a lot of the characters here. They portray tortured souls. And that's okay, because they're monsters, right? But I already know some of y'all out there are not going to like her portrayal, because she's strong, she's independent. That's already 2 strikes for some people. And she's an ass kicker, which a lot of people probably won't like either. So, warning for those in the internet, in the annals, that don't like strong female protagonists. But I did. I dug it. I thought it was cool. So, I'm just giving y'all a warning for that. I'm not going to spoil anything else aside from, and yes, Viola Davis does reprise her role as Amanda Waller. And as much as I wanted it to be the original voice actress from Justice League, I'm okay with Viola Davis being Amanda Waller from here on out. Let her be Waller from here on out. I'm good with it. And she doesn't overstay her welcome either, even though she's the one that puts together the team. And we get some cameos here and there from various DC heroes and villains. Maybe not so much, as I said, Justice League Unlimited, but you'll get a few. And you'll be doing the Leonardo DiCaprio meme where you're pointing at the TV like, oh, I know that person. I recognize that person. So all in all, it was a fun show. If I have to rate it out of 10, 7 out of 10, with some of the writing, sorry, James Gunn, being a little womp womp, and some of the voice performances just passable in a lot of ways. So 7 out of 10, not a bad thing. As I stated at the jump, the graphics, the animation was beautiful. It reminded me of yesteryear, and I appreciated that. The soundtrack's fun also. So 7 out of 10. But let me know down below in the comments, do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you appreciate the 7 out of 10? Am I crazy for these first 2 episodes? Let me know what you think so far about this show. If not, we're going to come back and we're going to do weeklies, because you and I are going to have a conversation in the comments below. But remember, like, share, subscribe. Big Gold Belt Media, biggoldbelt.com, your one-stop shop for all things in entertainment news, as well as over at Damian G Reviews. Follow me on my fledgling YouTube channel, Damian G Reviews, at youtube.com/Damian G. And remember, kids, just because it's James Gunn doesn't mean it's perfect. And that's okay. Creature Commandos gets a 7 out of 10. I'll catch you on the next review.
I